Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway and I'm a huge gift knitter. I love giving away knitted things. I love giving away handmade things. I think it just makes it a little bit extra special to know that it's made with love. I made it especially for that person, thinking about them while I made it. So it's just my favorite thing and I do it all throughout the year. But even as a certified gift knitter, I've always struggled to make it work during the Christmas season. I always start the planning a bit too late. I plan a bit too much and it just often does not fit within the time frame I have. And also it's the one time of year where the gift for everyone has the same deadline. But I have done a lot of trial and error across the years, so I have a list here with my favorite patterns and the patterns that do go by rather quickly and that you will still have a lot of time to make a couple of these if you start now. And I thought it's a bit over a month left until Christmas, about a month and a half, so now is really the perfect time to start deciding if you want to do handmade gifts, who you want to make them for and what you want to make. So I thought I'd come with some of my tips and some of my favorite patterns to make for gifts. And I know, at least for me, gift knits always take me a bit longer than anticipated. So I think now would be the perfect time to start. I do have most of my favorite gift knits on hand actually, because they are my favorite for a reason and I keep going back to them. So I thought we'd start with my number one right now that I'm going to be making for everyone for Christmas this year, and that is the double slippers by Sandnes Garn. This is the pair I made for my son. This is a great pattern. It is, first of all, it's free on the Sandnes Garn website, so that's a huge plus. It is also quite simple to make. It's with chunky yarn, it's on big needles, so it does go by quite quickly. One downside is that it does take quite a bit of yarn, but I'm knitting all of these in drops Nepal. You could also knit them in drops Alaska, so that's a way to make it a bit less pricey than the original. I think the original yarn suggested is Sandnes Garn, Fritidsgarn. That would be really expensive, but there are ways to make these cheaper and the pattern is free. This is how it looks. These are felted, but you cast on here and then you knit 2 feet, so it is a bit of work, but they are really great. And then you get these double slippers that really keep you very warm. And once you've done one, you can kind of do 100 because the pattern really isn't that complicated once you've done it once. And this pattern also comes in sizes from, I think, 25 to 26 is the smaller size, and then it goes all the way up to 44 to 46. So you can knit Christmas gifts for basically everyone in your family using just this one pattern. I've found that with using Drops Nepal, which is the yarn I've used for these slippers, that one pair of adult slippers takes about 4 skeins. The biggest size you have to tap into that 5th skein, but for every other size than the biggest one, you can make them using just 4 skeins or less. So that is a really great one. And once you get in the flow of it, you can crank out a pair rather quickly. I can make every pair, even the biggest one, in one day. So in 24 hours, I'm able to whip out a pair. So you still have time to make quite a few of these slippers before Christmas. You also have to sew together the heel and then felt them, but there are a lot of great tips online on how to do that. So this is a really great pattern, and there are quite a few videos on YouTube too all about these patterns, so you can have someone along the way holding your hand if you want to knit this. So these are a huge favorite, and I also really have to recommend this because it's what I'm doing for Christmas this year. It's also fun because you can play around with colors for everyone you want to give these slippers to. So that's a huge recommendation. And then second on my list is kind of multiple options, but that is all of Petiteknit's Sophie options. She has the Sophie scarf, the Sophie shawl, and the Sophie hood. All of them are really great, I think. I made both the Sophie scarf and the Sophie shawl. I've yet to make the Sophie hood, but I am pretty sure I'm going to. The Sophie scarf is really great because it is a really quick knit, and I think it's really versatile. It's really small, so you can wear it inside to kind of just fancy up your outfit. You can wear it in like spring and fall when it's not that cold. It's just a little scarf you can use for almost anything. I've also used it as a headband. I think you can use it as a hair tie, so that comes with a lot of different options, so it's really great for that. It also takes not that much yarn at all. You could easily get away with knitting that one up if you have a bit of scrap yarn in your stash, which is always great to get scrap yarn out of your stash and get a gift at the same time. And as I said, the scarf goes by really quickly, so that's a really great gift. And then the Sophie shawl, I have one of the Sophie shawl. This is also knit in Drops Nepal, which I don't think is quite right. I think the pattern suggests alpaca wool, but Nepal is quite close and a lot less pricey. I've made my Sophie shawl in Nepal, and I really enjoy that. This is also what I made for a lot of the females in my family last year, and they're still almost a year later telling me how much they love it, how much use they gotten out of it. They have asked me where they can get the pattern because they love theirs so much that they want to make more. Maybe they want to make the Sophie scarf to have a smaller version of this. So this has been a huge hit in my family when it comes to gifts, and it is also, here you can see kind of what all of the Sophie's shawls and scarves and hoods are about. It's garter stitch with an I-cord on the edge. This is a pretty famous pattern, but it's really fun to knit. It's very mindless to knit once you're into it, and it has been very appreciated by the people I've given this to, so again, have to really recommend that. And I've also written the hood on here. I've never knit the hood myself, but if I was going to write a wish list with what I would want someone to knit for me, the hood would be very high up on that list. I don't have it myself, and it looks really comfortable. I really enjoy it. It's like a balaclava, but also with the scarf, and you can tie it more the way you want to. So I just really want it myself, so I wanted to give it a space on this list. But I can't vouch for how comfy it actually is because I've never been able to try one. Another thing I have on this list because I want it myself is scrunchies. I've been seeing knit scrunchies a lot lately, probably because people are gearing up for Christmas knitting, and especially the ones from Augustins.dk. They look simple and they also look really pretty but simplistic. I think that would be really nice, and I think that that's going to be heavily featured in the Christmas gifts I do next year, because I think you just need like a hair tie and then some leftover mohair, because a scrunchie doesn't need that much yarn, and then you have a Christmas gift. All Christmas gifts doesn't have to be huge. You can also give a scrunchie with a little piece of chocolate. So I think a scrunchie also would be really nice, especially for scrap yarn, because mohair really like, you get a lot of scrap with mohair really quickly if you knit with mohair. So that's definitely high up on my list for next year, and also something I really want myself. I know there are multiple patterns for scrunchies, so if you want something more fancy like lace work, there are patterns for that. I've just seen the very plain one by Augustins.dk and I really fell in love with that. You could also make it, if you know the person you're gifting who has like a go-to Christmas dress or Christmas attire, you can make it in a matching color, so they have accessories for their Christmas dress or something else, you know, they wear all of the time, so they have an accessory. I think that would be really fun, and that's also a way to make the gift really thoughtful. And then next on the list is more of a broad category, and that is ornaments. I have knit a couple of ornaments myself, but I'm not the best at it. I always end up being way behind schedule with my Christmas gifts, so I plan to make ornaments every year, but then I never get around to it. But my son's advent calendar last year was that my mom had made him one handmade ornament for each day, and we both love that a lot. And now our tree is filled with handmade ornaments that has a story behind it, and I really love that. So I think that would make for great gifts, not only for advent gifts but also for Christmas gifts. Just a little trinket you can make. If you know they love mushrooms, make a little mushroom. If you know they have a favorite sweater, maybe make like a miniature version of that. I think you could play around with ornaments, and there are also so many ornament patterns out there. You could maybe make like one of those bowls with 2025 on it. There are so many opportunities. You can really play a lot around with ornaments and make it as personal as you like. I think my suggestion here to find the best ornaments is to just go looking on Ravelry, because they have so many. I get lost every time I try to look at ornaments on Ravelry because there's just too many that I want to knit. But I think ornaments is a great way to give a really personal touch to a Christmas gift, because you can really personalize them. And then of course I have to mention the Stormy weather hat. I can't mention knitting gifts without mentioning the Stormy weather hat. This is the perfect knit if you have any babies, toddlers, kids, adults even in your family. Highly recommend this. For the smaller sizes up to 6 years, this is how the pattern looks with these ear cuffs. Amazing. It also is has a folded hem here, so it's really warm over the ears. This is also a really quick knit. So, and also for this one, every single child or family, like kids family I've given it to, I've heard so much good back. I've had kids telling me how much they love it, and when a kid tells you how much they love a piece of clothing, then it's really great. And I've had so many parents either want one or say how much they love it once I've given it to them, especially because of these ear coverings here. So that's a huge tip, and also my absolute go-to when it comes to knitting for babies, toddlers and kids. And then that pattern is by Strikkesoffe, and then she also has a version that goes all the way from 6 years, or maybe even smaller, all the way up until a large adult, and it looks very much the same but without the cuffs. I think the pattern maybe has instructions for how to add it to this one too though. This I made for myself, I just haven't woven in the ends yet, so you can knit these hats for the whole family, and they are really easy to knit. Once you've knit one, you don't really have to look at the pattern for the others, and there aren't any huge differences from like the smallest size to the biggest one, just the amount of stitches. So again, highly recommend this. It's a great pattern, really easy to knit up. It's also on 4mm needles, so it really does go by rather quickly. And then again, for something I haven't made but that I just really want myself and that I think would make for a perfect Christmas gift, is a hot water bottle cover. I think that's what it's called. I think my mom has made some previously. I think these are just, again, they're really beautiful. You can easily personalize them, and I think they would be perfect to get as a gift for Christmas, because that's the cozy season. That's the season you're most likely to use a hot water bottle. So I think that would make for really great gifts, and it's definitely something I would love if I got myself. And if I don't get it myself, I'm probably going to knit it as a gift for myself. I just think they're really cute, and every time I see one on Instagram, I'm like, oh, I really wish I had one. And then another thing that is really great for the cozy season and the cold season is mittens. There are tons of different mittens out there, but these are my go-to. These are the autumn cabled mittens by Strikkesoffe. They are really pretty with all of these cables on the front here, and then on the inside they're just plain. These you can also make in so many different yarn combos. This pair is in drops Lima, and I've used them so much they're almost felted on the inside, which is great by making them in drops Lima. I've also made them in Sandnes Garn Sisu with drops Kid Silk, and in drops Baby Merino with Sandnes Garn. In drops Baby Merino with drops Kid Silk. So you can really play a lot around with the yarn you use for this. Maybe you have some scraps, and even though they seem quite complicated with the cables, mittens are a quite quick thing to knit up. It probably takes just a couple of days, so you would also have time to make a couple of these. I have in the previous years, I think at least for the last 2 years, I've knit 1 or 2 or 3 pairs of these for each Christmas, and everyone who's gotten them has loved them, worn them so much. I have most of the time given them away in Lima, because that is what works best for our climate here, but you can also make them very delicate and pretty using Kid Silk and a strand of fingering. So also highly recommend these. These are also by Strikkesoffe. And then last on my recommendation, and probably the most time consuming thing, is stuffed animals. If you want to knit for kids, they are really fun to make once you see them start to come to life, and they are so appreciated. Most kids don't love opening soft gifts, but stuffed animals, you still get to give them something handmade and they can play with it. So I highly recommend this. I made a lot of these sheep for my son last year around Christmas, and he plays with these every day. He loves them. These are a pattern from Rauma Garn. I think they're called Bærling lamb or something. I don't know if they've come in English, but this is a pattern made for Rauma Garn Vams, which is the same as Drops Nepal, which is the same as Sandnes Garn Fritidsgarn. So quite a chunky yarn, which means it goes by quite quickly, and as you can see, it's basically just a tube with some shaping and then 4 legs that you pick up stitches for a knit, and then a little tail and the ears. So it's a really easy project that you don't have to do a lot for, and it still makes this cute little stuffed animal that they can play with. And there are so many good patterns for stuffed animals out there. Ravelry has a lot, and my favorite pattern maker for stuffed animals is Arctickids. I don't think she's on Ravelry, but she has a lot of really great stuffed animal patterns. I hope to be able to make a couple of those before Christmas. We'll see. But I think you'll still have time to make a couple of stuffed animals, and they're really fun if you have any kids in your life that you're knitting for. So these are my go-tos. As you can see, I always have some on hand. I really like knitting them up, and I really enjoy giving them away because it usually is really appreciated, and that is the best thing with knitting, when you can make something that someone else appreciates. So those are all of my tips for what I would make for Christmas gifts, and what I think you'll still have time to accomplish by Christmas without completely stressing yourself out. I would love to have things added to this list. If you have any really great suggestions that are not too time consuming or brain consuming, I would love to add those to my list. I have that for next year. Please let me know in the comments. But that's all I had for this video. Good luck to us all with Christmas gift knitting, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!